What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Speak Organized podcast. I'm so excited to have you all along for today's episode. It's going to be a great one. And if you're watching on YouTube today, then you may notice that today's intro looks a little bit different. You can't see my face. And that is just simply because I'm recording this part of the podcast on the go today. If you've been around the community for a while, then you know that my family is going through some life transitions. We're getting ready to move in a couple of months. It's all good stuff, but you can relate to having gone through similar transitions in your life. There's a lot of moving parts, some stress and chaos, and just an attempt to balance all of the things all at once. So that's kind of where we are, just as a little life update that I know everybody can relate to. But I know, of course, that everybody's here for today's guest on the podcast. I have Darlene Tripp of Hello Darlene, based out of Ontario, Canada, and she specializes in life transitions and downsizing for seniors, as well as something called legacy planning, which is not only very interesting, but also super important for us to consider. If you're of retirement age or have parents who are, everyone needs support in organizing and planning for the end of life care and preparing for potential assisted living, etc. It's not always something that we want to think about, but Darlene really works hard to normalize and humanize these topics, and her services offer folks a way to take care of themselves and their families by putting the essentials in place. So this is a really important topic that can help all of us, whether we're entering that phase of life or helping a family member or working with a client going through these transitions. It never hurts to be armed with resources and understanding to support those clients. So I encourage you to stick around and let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome again to the Speak Organized podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Summers, professional organizer, decluttering expert, and productivity-based life coach. I like to speak organized to give you the tools to conquer your clutter, live life with more purpose, and learn all about the business of tidying. Do me a favor, however you're here today, look at that screen of your device and give that subscribe button a tap. I would be so honored to have you as a member of the Speaker fam. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to smash that like button and tap the little notification bell so you're never going to miss out on a new episode whenever they're posted each week. Now, as I mentioned before, this is a really important topic that we're discussing in today's episode. And I've worked with many seniors over the course of my professional organizing career. And the things that Darlene and I talk about have come up a few times. And I've had to kind of go on the fly and do some research to try and help them through these transition moments. Darlene is offering the opportunity, she'll talk more about it a little bit later on in the episode, to actually help coach those of us who are more interested in learning how to assist our clients with legacy planning. So I do encourage you, if this speaks to your heart and you want to engage in more of this type of work with these types of clients, get in touch with Darlene. I always have my podcast guests' information linked down in the show notes as well as the YouTube description. So be sure to reach out to her if you want to learn a little bit more about how to offer these services. Especially if you're new here or you've been sitting on the fence, watching or listening to a lot of my content, thinking about ways to start or grow your organizing business, then I want to make sure to get you up to speed on all of the resources I have available for you. If you're ready to get serious about starting or leveling up your professional organizing business, you have the opportunity to schedule an affordable consultation with me to get all of your questions answered. For real, nothing is off the table. And I would be honored to strategize with you and provide you with tons of resources during our call. I am serious about my mission to help you successfully start your own business and help you overcome any fear or doubt you have in your ability to make home organizing your new career. It was the best thing I ever did, and I would love to help you do it too. My schedule fills up quickly, so be sure to click the link in the description or the pinned comment to book your call before all of my slots are full for the month. And if you're ready to get paying clients in the door faster, you're going to need a streamlined process to onboard your prospects. And I have taken all the guesswork out of doing that. What to ask potential clients during consultations, what to put in your agreements, getting customer reviews, and more with my signature Pro Organizer Forms pack. These are 9 done-for-you forms that are customizable in a free Canva account, And I'll even show you how to set up that account if you've never used Canva before. These forms will save you days, possibly weeks worth of work researching and drafting critical documents to run your business professionally, and they're specifically designed for our industry. All of my YouTube and podcast fam get an exclusive discount, YT Pro 8, and that will get you $8 off at checkout. Lastly, if you are totally intimidated by using social media for your business, I have a great class that you can watch on your own time called the I Speak Organized Social Media Method. It includes 5 20 to 30 minute lessons that will help you come up with endless post ideas for the most popular platforms, including easy reels and TikTok video ideas, how to boost your following and engagement with people who actually like and share your content, how to post consistently without spending hours on social every day, with my signature content planner that you'll receive for free at the end of class, and a breakdown of all my favorite tools and software. I've made it super accessible and affordable for you. And of course, you get a bonus discount for being part of my speaker fam, ISO Social 5 at checkout. Okay, speaker fam, I wanted to take the opportunity to welcome today's podcast guest. We have Darlene Tripp all the way from Ontario, Canada. She is part of Hello Darlene, professional organizer for seniors. And I want to introduce her and welcome you, Darlene, to the podcast and tell us all about your business. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you. So can you just give us a brief rundown of how you started your business and what you were doing previously?
Oh, yes, of course. So I was actually in the financial industry for 34 years, and I retired in 2019. And then during COVID, it just organically happened that I decided to become an entrepreneur. It wasn't something that I planned, but it certainly was, it certainly stemmed from both personal and business experiences that had been in my life in the previous probably, 8 years or so.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I always love to just get a brief idea of everybody's background and sort of where you come from. Can you tell us a little bit about what Hello Darlene does and who you serve, and just a little bit more about your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a professional organizing and senior transition business, but I do service all demographics. I do typical professional organizing services such as home organizing, office organizing, downsizing, decluttering, moves and relocation, senior transitions, and elder care planning. So helping families navigate a lot of those life transitions that happen as we age, whether seniors are aging at home or whether they're looking to potentially relocate. I also provide companionship for older adults as well, both in their homes, in long-term care facilities, hospitals, retirement homes, etc. So my business is actually very diverse.
It sounds very diverse. So when you say companionship, are you going in, you're not just kind of doing the physical organizing part, but you're also coming into, what are you doing exactly? Are you helping them with chores? Are you keeping them company, reading to them, or kind of what are the things that you do with them?
It can be all of that. It's non-medical companionship. So sometimes it's just a wellness check-in for a family member that lives out of town. It could be checking their fridge or their pantry for expired foods, making sure that the food is being used. Sometimes it's decluttering to make sure that the home is safe, especially if there are mobility concerns. And sometimes I'm just having a cup of tea, right? I'm just having a chat and a cup of tea, and it's just a friendly visit. So really is very individualized depending on what the family is requesting or what the individual is looking for.
How did you kind of come upon offering those extra services? Was it just something that was always in your heart to do when you connect with these seniors, or is that something they asked you for? How did that happen?
Well, really, my husband and I care for his mom, who is walking a dementia journey. We're in year 7. And in my professional career, I certainly had a lot of experience of dealing with both powers of attorney and executors. But from a personal experience, we would have loved to have had someone just pop in and check on her a little bit more often, because public services are not that vastly available. It's very limited care that you receive. And being part of the sandwich generation, it's a lot of additional hours to look after someone who potentially you're concerned about that you can't be with 24 hours a day. So that's where that original idea stemmed. And I can say my clients have been both clients that have had dementia and they're in facilities, or sometimes they're just in their own home and family members live away and they're just concerned about their well-being and wanting to make sure that if they need extra support, they have it. So just that touch point once a week is sometimes very reassuring for a family member that lives out of town.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's such an amazing thing that you are doing for your community. One of the things that you and I connected on when we originally set up this interview is something that I'm not as familiar with, called the age wave. So I want you to explain to us what the age wave is, who it affects, and some of the factors that may be important for all of us to be aware of.
Well, the age wave is related to the large demographic of boomers that we have that are all at a certain age right now where they're needing a lot of support. And boomers are also living longer. Many of them are living well past the ages of their parents. So many boomers are living till age 90. So a lot of times it's seniors looking after seniors, right? It could be a child who's 60, 65, sometimes 70, looking after an individual who could be, 89, 90. So it's a huge demographic that needs a lot of support when there aren't a lot of public services available. In Canada, there's a huge shortage of medical professionals, PSWs, et cetera. And in addition to that, coming from my financial background, there's also a huge wealth. There's going to be a huge intergenerational transfer of wealth as well that's related to these boomers. So it's very complex actually, because they require so much additional care because a lot of them are staying in their own homes, but they're also they're much healthier than previous generations. They're very active. So, and all of us are working longer. So a lot of times we're working full time as a caregiver. Potentially we have children at home and we're caring for an older adult. So put all that kind of stuff together, and that's the age wave.
Wow, that's very interesting. Just all the different levels and layers that you're thinking about. You as the family member or the caregiver is doing a lot, triple duty, basically trying to take care of yourself as well, I imagine.
Yeah, it's that my husband and I were the perfect description of the sandwich generation. At the time when my mother-in-law needed some extra support, we had 2 girls at home, in high school. We were both working full-time demanding jobs. We were very active with our girls and their extracurricular activities. We traveled a lot because of their sporting events. And at the same time, we had all of this other person's life changing that we had to help support on a fairly intense level. It was several hours a week initially. I'd say it's, oftentimes it's at least 10 hours a week. So it can add up to quite a bit in the course of a month. And so you kind of put all of that together and it's the perfect explosion.
It is, yeah, very busy. And I know I've spoken to many friends and clients who are in similar situations with elderly family members, parents in particular. And dementia is such, and Alzheimer's in general, that whole disease is very traumatic to experience, not just obviously from the perspective of having it, but as a family member watching it and enduring it, the slow goodbye, as they call that. So it's interesting to me. And I wonder if you've talked to any colleagues who are involved in the same type of work, but in the United States. Do you know, are there differences between the types of care available or how that works? Do you kind of want to give us some insight?
I do actually have a couple of organizers from the very beginning in the US that I've connected with. And it's been lovely because we've been able to kind of share experiences. And I'd say our experiences are very similar with that age wave, regardless of the country. I'm part of organizers in Canada, and whether it's the UK, Canada, the US, etc., it's the same scenario in every country. We have this very, very large population of boomers that are now all at this age where they're retired, they're living longer, etc. So, and there isn't necessarily the support. I would say it's just starting to really ramp up. I started my business in 2020, and there weren't nearly as many businesses in 2020 as there is today. Businesses are popping up everywhere to help support older adults. And I love that because there's a huge need to kind of bridge that public to private care piece. That's a really important piece.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is slightly off topic, but not exactly. I have a client that I work with as a productivity coach, but she is in the process of getting her death doula certificate, which is kind of like the next stage of that private care rather than going into hospice. And as you mentioned, that people are living longer in this end of life phase, that they need that more extended care. And so death doula-ship, I don't know if that's what you'd call it, has totally exploded as well. And it's something that I was not even aware was an industry, but it is this big booming thing that is coming to life just within the last, I would say, even 5 years. It's a very, very new piece of the industry. So I feel like we go from care from you into the hands of maybe a death doula. I don't know, but seems like it could be a good connection piece there.
Yeah, and you're right. Death doulas have really people have become more aware that that's a service. And there are many, many more people getting their accreditation to become a death doula. And I feel like it's a very important service because many people want to be at home for as long as possible. Right. And so that's a way to support them through end of life. So, and as we grow and learn about so many more options that are available, death doula, I mean, who wouldn't want to be in their own home, right? With support. So, it's a lovely service, and you really have to have, a very specific personality to be able to do that kind of role. It's not for everyone.
Right.
So I really give them a huge shout out because they have to be a very caring and compassionate person.
Totally agree. Yeah. And this particular client is I couldn't think of a better person for that particular job. Okay. So I want to move on a little bit and kind of get back to you, focus you a little bit, Darlene, and tell me, what does a typical workday look like for you? I'm sure it changes throughout, the scope of, since you mentioned that you have so many different types of things you engage in business, but just give us a little taste of what it's like for you during the day.
Yeah, and I think that's actually what I love the most about this business, because I left a corporate career where it was a very structured environment. I worked in the financial industry, so we were very in a box all the time. And what I love about this business is it's just so varied. I could be in the morning doing a visit with an older adult, and sometimes it's just coffee or tea. I'm coloring. It's a very enjoyable experience. They're really enjoying it. And sometimes then I'm in the afternoon, I'm doing an estate clear out, or I'm really doing a large declutter job. And then as well, I do consulting for elder care planning. And some of that consulting is definitely in person locally, but I also service clients anywhere. I'm virtual. So for example, right now I have clients where the family members live in 3 different cities in Ontario, and the 2 parents live in 2 different cities as well. And they're trying to coordinate a relocation for mom to kind of get back to where dad is. And it doesn't have to be local. This is all information that I can provide to them virtually.
Wow.
Helping them navigate, search retirement homes, research long-term care homes, find out what the best fit is. So my services are definitely virtual as well, which has been a fun piece of the business. So sometimes I'm just at home, like today, on Zoom calls, doing virtual services. And I do some virtual organizing as well to communities in the North in particular that don't have organizing services.
Very interesting. I like that you shared that you're able to do a lot of this virtually. I'm always looking for ways to help my coaching clients in particular who want to enter into this industry, find ways of scaling their business. And virtual has always really appealed to me. It's something that I do very frequently in my business. And you have a unique perspective there that I hadn't considered for virtual offerings. That's fabulous. Do you like that for your business?
I do. I mean, it definitely is different than being in person, but I'm in Northern Ontario. So first of all, it's a vast landscape. And second of all, there's many, many smaller communities that people don't have access to individuals like myself. So sometimes, they just don't have that support available. So I'm glad that I'm able to offer that in a virtual way and help support them and coach them really around how to declutter and organize their home in a virtual way. So yeah, it's definitely different, but it's fun as well.
Yeah, I love that. And it's great, a great use of technology that's actually a positive outcome of our sort of isolation from each other in person. You're actually able to, conversely reach those folks that wouldn't otherwise be able to engage in the wonderful and very necessary services that you provide. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So then can you share something? I don't know if you had a chance to think about this one yet already or not, but share something about your business that may surprise our audience.
So I think something that I have, I guess I didn't think it was interesting at first, but I'm sort of finding from my audience that sometimes it surprises them is, first of all, I'm trying to remove the stigma around clutter because we have all this comparison of the home edit, Marie Kondo, all of these visualizations on Instagram of perfect fridges and kitchens. And it's just not a reality for a lot of people. So there's a lot of shame and guilt that goes along with trying to be like that and not being able to for a variety of reasons. So I really try to post on social media pictures. I try to normalize the fact that there are many people that have cluttered homes and that it could be because of trauma, grief. It could be perhaps ADHD. It could be just you running out of top of life skills. And so it's nothing to be ashamed of, or being organized can be a learned skill. And so I try to normalize that by showing people that there are homes out there that are really cluttered. And then also be able to explain to them that there's a process to go through to be able to get to the other side. And there's truly some magic that happens when you do that. So that's number one, is reducing the stigma.
Yeah.
But not only on the organizing side, but also on the aging side of my business. So, for example, sharing about long-term care homes or retirement residences and try to sort of remove that stigma that they're a horrible place to be, especially after we've been through this pandemic where they did not come through shining light that they could have. So a lot of people are really apprehensive about moving into these types of environments. And they're again a reality. For some people, there's just no choice depending on the kind of care that they require.
Right.
So I really try to normalize that as well. And through doing both of those things, I'm trying to advocate that, all of these pieces are also intertwined with one's mental health, whether you're a caregiver or whether you're someone living with clutter. Mental health is a very big piece of all of this. So those would be the three pieces I think that kind of come into play with my business a lot that I didn't expect initially. And I don't think other people necessarily realize as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love your first point that you brought up about trying to normalize the clutter and stop sort of glorifying this unrealistic expectation that we see on social media. And I was talking to one of my YouTube viewers, actually. She just joined my big Facebook group, and she brought up the point that, because I really try to do that as well. A lot of my social media posts center around, from a more humorous perspective, how to normalize the fact that I'm a mom with toddlers, and my home as a professional organizer is not always Pinterest perfect looking. In fact, it rarely ever is. And she made the point that we're starting this movement called the Down to Earth movement, just trying to be a little bit more realistic and show people, because you're right, it is important for our mental health to put these things into the proper perspective, and stop glorifying some of these things that are not quite as healthy because they're unrealistic. So I love that you brought that up. And that's a huge focus of your business.
I think it's also more complex than people realize. I think sometimes people think, oh, well, you just need to clean your house and organize it and tidy it. And for some individuals, it is not that simple. It can be a very complex process, not only to reach out, as you know, for support, but then also to find the right system for them that might work, because the same system does not work for everyone.
Right.
And that's usually where individuals fail. So really getting people to understand our business. And, a lot of people don't understand professional organizers. And so trying to educate everybody is what I love about those of us who like to go out there and kind of just share what we do, because it's an important offering and service that we provide to people that a lot of people don't know exists. So
yeah, amen, sister. Even though the industry has been around since like the 70s, that's still relatively new, all things told. But yeah, there's many misconceptions about the industry as a whole, and it's a very diverse and rich industry with many different niches and different specialities and things. So it's one of the things that really drew me to the industry in the first place, was all the different possibilities. And so that's why I love having this podcast, because I'm able to interview people that do things I had never heard of before. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because you presented some really cool perspectives that I hadn't shared with people yet. So just a few more things that I wanted to talk to you about before we sign off here today. From a business perspective, what are you hoping to achieve this year with Hello, Darlene?
Well, my first goal is I really want to expand the virtual side of my business, to be able to provide support to communities that, maybe don't have services like mine available. And then secondly, as well, continue to sort of expand to be able to have a team, right? To be able to have a team of people that work with Hello, Darlene on a regular basis. And that would include the consulting side of my business as well as the professional organizing side, because there's only going to be more and more of a need as this aging demographic continues to expand. So those are my two main goals.
Cool. And have you thought a little bit about logistically what your plans are for marketing and things like that? What types of avenues have you explored to expand? Have you done that yet?
I haven't. I have done some of that. Yeah, I'm writing an article for a small local paper on a monthly basis, and that has really helped me a lot. Number one, make sure my blog gets on my website.
Right.
And secondly, I'm really using it as a platform to just educate people about the services that are available. Because it's not only for older adults, but it's for their children. It's for us that are helping older adults.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times it's us that need the support because we're trying to navigate what's going on. And I also want to normalize asking for help, right? It's okay to ask for help. We don't have to do everything on our own. So
that's your kind of outlet is writing. Yeah, I do something similar for a local publication, probably every couple of months, but that's a really great tip for anybody that's looking for additional ways to reach out to their community. So what are the top 3 pieces of advice that you would give to anybody looking to begin the process of legacy planning? First of all, maybe we should back up slightly and talk about what legacy planning is, and then how you may advise people when they begin that journey.
Yeah, so legacy planning is sometimes misunderstood for estate planning. And so the way I position it is you have estate planning where you create documents like power of attorney and will. Then you have financial planning on the other side, where you're taking care of your wealth and you're, designating beneficiaries, etc. But then in the middle of that is everything else that you need to know that you need to share with others. So medical information, advanced care plans, your end of life wishes, the possessions that you own within your home, all of these different kinds of things. So what I sort of say is legacy planning is the glue in between the other two. It brings it all together, because typically the other two industries will do a form of legacy planning with you, but around those specific areas, either around legalities or around finance. What legacy planning does is it helps you organize all the documents that a power of attorney or an executor would need in one location. So it's easy for them to be able to find that information in an instant. My focus is very much on the power of attorney role, because as a power of attorney, if you're caring for someone, it can go on for a number of years. And you need a lot of information. You might need their blood type. What kind of benefits do they have? All of these different sorts of things are information that's required that's not in your will and not in your financial plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I describe it. It's really organizing all of those documents together so that they're easy for the power of attorney and executor to have at a glance. And many people, as you know, do not have wills or powers of attorney in place.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's a very intimidating topic. We're talking about end of life. And again, that's not normalized. There's such a stigma around talking about that period of time in our life. I always say, we have a baby, we have we get time off work, we have a baby shower, there's gifts coming in, people are supporting us left, right, and center.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the other end of our life and it's like crickets.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody knows what to do. And that's really where legacy planning comes in. It's for the individual to be able to express what their wishes are. And we just have come through a pandemic. So our individual health preferences should be front of mind for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
We all have very different points of view. And this is a way to be able to express all of those things and document them so that there are no surprises and everybody is aware.
Right. I love that. And I love that you sort of brought up the need to support those people who are supporting the individuals in the end of life. And I was speaking to a client recently who told me a story about becoming the power of attorney for a family member, but wasn't aware that they were the power of attorney until the hospital actually called them in this end of life crisis. And so this particular individual had to very quickly try to understand all of the medical history, didn't have access to the documents, and to this day is still dealing with the aftermath, all the effects of the sort of chaos of how that situation unfolded. So whoever is listening or watching this podcast today, this is a fabulous reminder. And I think it would be a really good idea. I want to try to provide some additional resources. So I'll talk to you about that afterwards, that I can put in the show notes for people to do a little bit of research, maybe get in touch with you to start this process, or get some referrals for somebody in their area to get on this, because this is super important stuff.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is you can go on Amazon and you can buy a book that's, there's a couple of versions, but I think one is called I'm Dead, What Now? and it's a book. It's a book you can fill out the same kind of information. But what I have found from my experience is that people don't fill it out independently. So what I do is I sit down with them and I go through the process, and it's literally, okay, you have insurance, go get it. Where is it? Let's bring it out. When was the last time you looked at it? Mm-hmm. And then I have a very simple system it's a binder system I provide to my clients, because I liked the idea of having something portable for executors or powers of attorney, so that they could just bring that binder with them wherever they go, and they would have all the information that they need at a glance. But I do find that sitting down and explaining the why behind all of the different categories I go through, that's the key piece. Because sometimes people don't understand, well, why would I need that information? Who cares?
Right.
And digital assets are a good example. I mean, you and I have a website. Mm-hmm. We have all sorts of things related to our business, so much social media. How do you unfold all that? Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's more complex than people realize. So, So I'm very passionate about it, especially from my previous life, working in the financial industry, and people just coming in and not having any idea, walking in and saying, oh, I don't know, does my dad have stuff here? Can you look? I have no idea because I can't find anything. Right. And it makes it so much more stressful for people. So my goal is really to just help provide that kind of guide to help people feel less stressed during the process, because it can be very overwhelming.
It is. And I feel like that's the reality for the majority of people that go through this, because as you mentioned, it's something that isn't talked about, or not that it needs to be celebrated, but it does need to be held up with a sense of importance so that it's taken care of. So just to summarize, for those folks who are, listening to this, watching this and saying, okay, I want to get serious about this. What are the first few things that you would advise them to do in beginning the process of legacy planning?
Well, number one, I really believe in getting a will and a power of attorney. There are two powers of attorney usually, right? One for personal care, one for property. Mm-hmm. In Canada, that's how they're described. So definitely those documents will be a priority. Yes, there are ways to do them online as well that are less expensive. But it's also sometimes valuable to just go see a lawyer, especially if you might have a complex family scenario. You will get advice from that sort of individual that you may not get if you do it independently. But either way, some kind of document on file is really critical. And secondly, just really thinking about that healthcare piece and advanced care planning. With the onset of MAID being more popular, there are so many different options available. Also with green burials, there's just so many more different options available. It's good to explore everything. So educating yourself about the different categories. And lastly, I would just say it can be overwhelming. So reaching out for support and getting guidance. If you're having a hard time starting, that's when you know you need to reach out. If you can just buy the book off Amazon and fill it out, you're golden, you're good to go. Yeah. But if you're having a hard time getting started, then that's when you know you need to sort of reach out for support and just talk through it with somebody, And sometimes talking about it with a non-family member is easier than it is with a family member initially.
Right.
And that gets the process going and the juices flowing. And then it normalizes and you realize, oh, okay, this is not that scary.
Right. Right.
And I'm communicating what I want, right? Which I believe everybody does want. It's just intimidating to start, But we'd rather go to Mexico than spend money on, all these other pieces, right? If we're being realistic.
Right.
It's about priorities. But it does provide a lot of peace of mind to the individual doing it and to those who might be potentially in that power of attorney or executive role or a caregiving capacity.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's very well said. It's a good lesson for all of us to just have that on our radar. And I imagine that the peace of mind aspect would be surprisingly powerful once you actually have those things in place. You'd enjoy your time in Mexico way more if you were able to just have some of these other nitty-gritty pieces taken care of in the beginning. That's awesome.
I've actually had a couple of clients after we've done Legacy reach out afterwards and tell me that after they did it, they received a significant medical diagnosis. And so that was really important for me to hear because they felt so much better knowing that they had already had that done. And they didn't know they had the diagnosis when we started. They probably had a sense that they wanted to get things in order.
Right.
But the feeling that they had going through that care then, say, for example, it was cancer, going through treatments, they knew already that piece was taken care of. So, so just really, really wanted to mention that because sometimes we don't know we're going to need it.
Right. Cool. Yes, I'm sure you noticed I had my assistant come and join me. Luckily, they can't see when you're speaking. We can only see you. So that's perfect.
That's good. Hey, that's real life.
Yeah, exactly. And they make appearances on my podcast frequently because, mom life. But I want to just wrap up with you really quick and just give you the chance to tell us where we can find you on social media, tell us your website, and if you have any special promotions or anything like that you want us to know, please tell us.
So you can find me at hellodarlene.ca. That's my website. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. I also have a declutter club. It's called Declutter with Darlene. It's on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn as well for the business side. That's under my personal name. And I am interested to know if other organizers are interested in learning how to do legacy planning with their clients. So that would be my question out there to other professional organizers. Would you be interested in taking a course that would show you how to do legacy planning with clients that you've already earned trust with? So
100%. I would be super interested in that. I know a lot of our other audience members would as well. So I'll make sure that it is very easy to contact you in the show notes in the description of the video today so that when that happens, we can find you as easily as possible and learn all the things that you have to share with us. So Darlene, I just wanted to say thank you again for joining me on today's episode, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future.
Thank you so much. This has been fun, and have a great rest of the day.
All right, fam, as always, that wraps it up, and it has been an honor to have your time today. I really hope that you found this episode inspiring and educational and kind of help to put some of the insecurities and fears that we have around end-of-life planning to rest, to see that there are so many resources and tons of support. And of course, be sure to go down to the show notes in the description of the YouTube video to check out all of the resources. If you want to get in touch with Darlene, her information is down there. If you want to book a coaching call with me, my slots are pretty full for the month of March, but there are a few left, so go ahead and snag those if you want to get on a call with me, and we can talk about all the other resources available as well. Don't forget to join my free Facebook group. Check out the Pro Organizer Forms pack. I've got all kinds of goodies for you that I cannot wait to share. And if you have questions, be sure to comment down below or ask away in the Facebook group. That's what it's there for. It's a great resource for you. Don't forget to follow along at I Speak Organized on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Those are great places to connect with me as well. And beyond that, I hope you all have a fabulous day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.